All right, so Kid Cudi arrives to testify in Diddy's trial today, right? Man pulled up with a cigarette in his mouth already lit. Nigga, they opened the door on the SUV and he walked out of that bitch with a cigarette already smoking, okay? I'm about to read some of the transcript of this crazy shit. Here we go. All right, so this is a conversation between the assistant United States attorney and Kid Cudi in court today, okay? So basically, Cudi starts with saying that Sean Combs called him, right? All right, so the attorney said, what did you say? Kid Cudi says that I didn't want to talk with him. He broke into my house, hurt my dog. Then they asked him, did you and Miss Ventura break up? He said, yes. They said, what about your car? He said, my dog's babysitter called me and told me my car was on fire. All right, so then the attorney said, where were you? He said, at a relative's of my ex-girlfriend. They said, where did you go? He said, to my house. And then he gave the address of that house right here. They said, let me show you 6 pictures. Do you recognize this? Y'all, this nigga Kid Cudi says back, yeah, my Porsche. Dog, and I was talking to somebody about this, and I'm like, yo, like, Kid Cudi didn't talk about this shit because obviously it would have immediately brought charges to Sean Combs, and it would have just been extra. So he probably just kept it quiet. But at the same time, Kid Cudi ain't no poo-putt. Nigga ain't driving around no motherfucking Honda, nigga. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, Buddy really lost probably like $100,000 car off because of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And this is in 2012 when this occurred, by the way. All right, so then Kid Cudi says, that's the damage to my Porsche from the Molotov cocktail that he had threw in the car, that P. Diddy had threw in the car. The attorney said, who took these photos? Kid Cudi said, Chip, a good friend and collaborator. They said, what's depicted here? He said, the hole they cut in the roof of my car to put in the Molotov cocktail. So I'm assuming his car was a convertible of some sort with a soft top. Because if not, what the fuck kind of villainy is that? They cut a hole in the roof and dropped the Molotov. Okay, for those that don't know what a Molotov cocktail is, it's like a bottle of alcohol with a fucking like cloth or a piece of tissue hanging out of it, and you set it on fire. When you throw it, it explodes it. Boom, fire explosion, okay? So the attorney said, what was your reaction to your car being on fire? Kid Cudi said, what the fuck? Fuck. Oh, shit. They said objection. Judge said overruled. Then the judge immediately calls for a break. So before the jurors come back, the judge asked Kid Cudi, will you finish the witnesses of today? Oh, shit, no. The judge asked the attorney, will you finish the witnesses of today? The attorney said yes, though the cross of Mr. Kaplan was 3 times longer than we thought. Jury starts entering. The attorney says, was the damage on your car present before the call from the dog sitter? Cudi said no. The attorney asked Cudi, did you think it was accidental or intentional? Cudi says intentional. The attorney then says, where did you last see Miss Ventura? Cudi said, at the Soho house. I'd reached out to Sean Combs and said, look, let's talk. This is getting out of hand. So this is after he had said he didn't want to talk. No. Okay, no. I mean, at some point after he didn't want to talk to him, and I guess now he does. Okay, so then Brian Steele, who is now representing Sean Combs, which is the same lawyer that represented Young Thug, if y'all don't know, he said, can we have a sidebar? The judge said, do you have an objection? Steele said, yes. Judge said, sustain, disregard, and move on. The attorney then asked, who set up the meeting at Soho House? Mescudi said, D-Rock and my manager. The attorney then asked, what was Mr. Combs doing? Kid Cudi said he was standing there like a Marvel supervillain. And then he started laughing in court. Cudi then said, he said, we were homies. You know that's my girl. Cudi said, what did you say? The attorney said, what did you say? Cudi said, I thought you had broken up. Then Sean Combs offered me water twice. Oh, that nigga's trying to kill him. Are you fucking kidding me? In this same fucking back and forth, he tried to give him water twice. So basically, Cudi says, it was weird, Sean Combs being so calm. The attorney said, what did Cassie say? Cudi said that we have fallen in love, things happen. The attorney said, what did you say to Mr. Combs? Kid Cudi said, what about my car? He said, I don't know what you were talking about. And I walked away. This is fucking crazy. All right, the attorney said, did you see Sean Combs later? Cudi said a few years later, also at the Soho House, he said, I'm just sorry for all that bullshit. I was surprised, so I found peace with it. So P. Diddy came up to him years later and apologized. The attorney said no further questions at this time. The judge then calls for Mr. Steele. All right, so Combs' attorney, Brian Steele, says, I want to ask you some questions about your Porsche in 2022. Cudi said 2012. Steele said, I apologize. You get a call about damage to your vehicle, any surveillance photos? Kid Cudi said, no, my dog's babysitter did send me pictures of the damage. Combs' lawyer Steele says, the DNA taken, are you aware it came back being a female? What? The attorney says objection, no foundation. Judge says sustained. Steele says, do you know there were DNA results? Judge says, I'll allow that. Kid Cudi then answers no. P. Diddy's a lawyer then says, Miss Ventura told you it was over. Cudi said, we just stopped talking. Steele says, you told this honorable court and this jury that she played you? Kid Cudi says, yes. Steele says, she played you and you had no clue? Kid Cudi says back, no clue. Then Steele asks Cudi, in 2011, you went on a tour. Cudi says, yes. Steele says, 65 locations? Cudi says, yeah. Steele says, at that time, Sean Combs was an icon, fair to say? Cudi says, yes. Steele says, you and Miss Ventura had a sexual relationship? And then the attorney objected. Sidebar. After the sidebar, Cudi says, Mr. Steele, can I? And then the judge said, no, you can do that on redirect. Steele says, do you want to tell me something? Then Cudi says, Sean Combs asked me about doing a song with Miss Ventura in 2010. This would have been 2 years before all of this would have happened. Steele says back, thank you. All right, this shit's long as shit, but I'm sure you see the guy who's like sitting in court fucking typing this shit out. I might, depending on how y'all react to this, I might keep doing some more, but if you want to go follow this shit yourself, here it is. Follow this guy right here and find the thread. All right, peace.